So these are the major components that government, as they negotiate with the concessionaire, must be able to address and ensure that the concessionaire has full charge of all the workers that will be handling trains for the concessionaire. The concessionaire must have full charge of the discipline of the workers that will be handling the trains for the concessionaire. You can't have a worker who is under someone. If that worker misbehaves, how do you discipline that worker? You need to appeal to the one in charge of that worker to discipline that worker, a process that may not be achievable. So to us, we feel that most of the things are okay with this concession, but when it comes to workers, that is where the challenge is. So government must relook at this position. Initially we heard that the concessionaire will be in charge of maintenance, but all of a sudden things changed and they are saying Tazara will be in charge of maintenance. And if things remain like that, then we are assured that the concession will not be a success. My colleague can add one or two things.
This concession in itself has a lot of positives. The other concessions, different from the other concessions that have so far taken place. In the case of Zambia, we've had two concessions that is in the railway sector. Zambia Railways, which underwent two concessions from railway systems, from Zambia Railways to railway systems, and from railway systems back to Zambia Railways. So what is different about this concession is the fact that this concession has taken on board the component of improving on the infrastructure, which was a missing ingredient in the previous concessions. So to us, on this one, we actually give kudos to government. They are on the right track, and we feel if we handle it properly, it will give a new lease of life to Tazara, save for those lacunas who have observed the issues of the workers. What happens to the workers? You can't be the major operator running the main component of the railway industry, the freight trains. Then you have very few workers. How do you hope to achieve the much needed productivity levels? The government should take keen interest in addressing this particular component, because the government gets earnings from the exports, the components, the new investor will be moving. So if it is not handled properly, the welfare of the workers, the numbers are part of that key ingredient. The welfare of the workers, the numbers that are moving to the concessionaire, then even the aspect of their observations we have made, there should have been a situation where workers move from company A to company B. The way the operations will be happening, the Tazara workers will be working on locomotives for the new investor. The new investor is China Civil Engineering and Construction Corporation. They are modernizing the equipment, which equipment is going to be worked on by Tazara workers. So our feeling is these workers should actually move. It's technically these workers have actually moved, because they will be working on an equipment that will be belonging to another person. So I don't know what the government is trying to run away from. There should be a clear-cut position. As labor leaders, we see some aspect of running away from certain things that are clear in a concession. Yes. Why? Because if I was working on a Tazara equipment, I start working on this other equipment, it is just clear that I have moved from Tazara to the new operator. So this aspect should be looked at in terms of what should take effect. So this we feel should be looked at, and up to this stage we have not been engaged by, as labor leaders, the people that are in charge of the welfare of the workers. We feel it's high time we are engaged before this concession is actually signed. So as I said, everything else is okay. The production, the part of the infrastructure, if there will be improvements or no improvements, in this case we see that there will be improvements as long as they take into consideration the concerns we have highlighted, because this is the only concession that has taken on board the component of improving on the infrastructure. The other concession that we observed with Zambia Railways didn't take that component on board, and the infrastructure was left in a dilapidated state. This one has taken on board that component, so save for the gray areas we have observed in terms of how the maintenance on the infrastructure will be done. You can't actually leave the maintenance aspect to Tazara, which Tazara has failed before. Some monies have been released irrespective of the levels, but there should have been those appreciable levels in terms of improvements. Those improvements have not been there. So on this part, I think Tazara should be delinked from the maintenance part. The new investor should be the one to take over the maintenance part, even the aspects of the workforce. I submit.
As Tazara employees, we recognize this concession as the only solution to the railway's long-standing challenges. However, declaring redundancies to the workers before the transition period will enable the concessionaire to have a fresh start. The Tazara system collapsed a long time ago. So allowing it to continue and work hand in hand with the concessionaire will not only stall the progress on the concession, but it may also hinder. It may be a complete hindrance to the success of the entire concession. So the government must make decisive decisions on this to ensure that this concession is a success. Anyone saying Tazara should not be concessioned does not understand what us workers have gone through and does not understand the challenges that Tazara has been going through. So we stand with government on the decision to have Tazara concessioned, but we want government to look at each and every aspect of this concession critically to ensure that this concession becomes a big success for Tazara and for Tazara workers. Thank you very much.
My name is Martin Vasi, reporter from ZFM radio station, Ponch. I understand that when you say placing workers on redundant means retiring them, and after that government will need to pay their pensions and the like. At the moment, government is failing to pay salaries. How are they going to manage to pay the redundant workers?
When you look at the investment that is coming in, it's $1.4 billion. The money that is required to pay Tazara workers in terms of severance packages doesn't even reach 150 million. So when you compare, it's in fact maybe it's somewhere around 110, 120 million dollars that will take care of the severance packages for these workers. So it would be prudent for government to find this $100 million, clear off all the workers, than risk the $1.4 billion. So when you compare, you find that the investment is too huge to be risked by an expenditure of $100 million. Because what we want is a success of this concession. Government cannot fail to find $100 million. This government, from the time it came into power, we have seen Inden closed for maintenance and workers declared redundant. They were paid. We've seen under the new Dawn government, even though it is not much, NFRA, National Road Fund Agency, even though it's just the few toges, because of the dual carriageway concession, those people were declared redundant. They were given an option to choose whether to cross, to remain with NFRA, or to just say, me, it's the end, give me my money and go. So it is something that the government can do. Government can't fail to find $100 million to protect an investment of $1.4 billion. You know, our culture in Tazara, our culture is so bad that things can disappear without stress. So as we know, that's why we are insisting that this culture must be overhauled. At some point we were on a board tour with the board members. They were trying to suggest that I think we don't need to go, what we need is just to inject some money in Tazara. We told them, if you want to inject money in Tazara, first of all, you have to overhaul the entire system. That is when you can inject money. Otherwise, keeping the system as it is, this $1.4 billion investment is at risk. So when you look at the risks, you find that it is much better to find the $100 million to take care of the severance packages for all the workers and have a fresh start for Tazara as the concessionaire takes over. My colleague can add something.
Sure. Much of the staff has been covered by my colleague. Just because there are packages to be taken care of, redundant packages, is not reason enough for us to actually to go with the whole batch. It's not every worker that is actually useful in that word, in the exercise. You look at the investment levels and what you are actually the other burden. You look at you weigh the options. It is a labor requirement, by the way, to say if a worker moves from company A to company B, redundant package should take effect. The other one, the ones that you don't need, the excess manpower, if you don't need those workers, again, it is a labor requirement to say the redundant packages should take effect. Okay? So the issue of actually is part of the concession process. It is a labor requirement which the government should not run away from. And in this particular one, the investment that is coming is too huge to actually risk by taking on board everyone just because you are running away from paying this cost. So the government should actually reconsider its position with regard to the workforce. The workforce whose culture is not, for lack of a better word, there may be others that have good work culture, but because of the bad eggs, it is just proper that that particular component is addressed and the surveillance packages be paid. Otherwise, the cost is not equivalent to the investment levels that we anticipate.
And I say the severance package for Tazara workers is roughly just above 100 million. Now we are talking of two governments involved. So if it is $120 million, the two governments can share that. It means here we just need about $60 million and the severance packages are paid for Zambian region. If the other government doesn't want those workers to be declared redundant, then that can be the case. Yeah. But the two governments will share this $120 million that is required to pay all the workers in Tazara and give Tazara a fresh start. Thank you very much for that question.